Hello YouTube, SlayerJesse here. Today I'll be teaching you how to make some chocolate chip cookies that are about 1.5 carbs. Stay tuned. Alright, now the fun part. Let's go ahead and start cooking. We're going to take 1 tablespoon of butter and 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. Go ahead and place it in the bowl. Then we will take the bowl and place it in the microwave for 30 seconds. 15 to 30 seconds depending on your microwave. You don't want it too hot, you just want the items melted. Go ahead and give it a stir. And then I had to check mine because mine actually was too hot, so I can't add my egg. If it's too hot and you add your egg, then the egg will just scramble and cook, and that's not what we want. So I have to wait. Alright, everything seems to be okay now. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Make sure it's stirred in real well. Then we're going to add 1 egg yolk. And again, just double checking to make sure it's not too hot because I don't want to make scrambled eggs. I just want everything incorporated properly. Now, the next step, we're going to add a pinch of salt. And I like to add the salt now because it helps break down the egg more, and I accidentally added all of the salt. Please ignore that. You really just want a pinch of salt. After that, I like to add the swerve, and that is 2 tablespoons of confectioner's swerve, and then 1 tablespoon of the brown sugar swerve. And I add this before the flour because I like to make sure all the brown sugar is broke down because it has a tendency to clump. So I just keep stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring, just making sure everything is not clumpy anymore. When I get done, it's almost the consistency of an oatmeal. And I like the push against the bowl method. And as you can see, it's starting to get a little thick now. And that's the oatmeal consistency. Alright. Now that that's happened, we're going to add our dry ingredients. 1/2 of a cup of almond flour. 1 tablespoon of psyllium husk, and then 1/2 of a teaspoon of baking powder. Then after that, we're going to stir very well. And again, I like to stir and push down against everything, like the bottom of the bowl, the press and stir, because you want to incorporate everything as best you can. If you don't want to use a spatula at this point, you can also use your hands. But as you can see, it slowly turns into a cookie dough consistency. Alright, now that that's done, we're going to go ahead and add 1/4 of a cup of Lily's chocolate chips. These are the bacon chips, the 0 carb, and I find 1/4 of a cup is perfect. It adds just about it adds just the right amount of chocolate chips per cookie that we make. Time to ditch the spatula and use my hands. Alright, Now that I have a nice little dough ball here with all the chocolate chips kind of on the inside, I'm going to take the spatula and cut it in half. Then I'm going to quarter it and then have the 4 little cookies. Now, these cookies will spread a little bit, but you want to make them kind of into an initial cookie shape when you put them into the oven to bake. Like so. Alright, I'm going to grab the baking sheet. I do have a baking mat on mine. If you don't have a baking mat, you can just use parchment paper. I just happen to be out at the moment. I'll grab some oil and go ahead and spray it on just to make sure they don't stick. I mean, it's a non-stick mat, but you never know. And then I'm gonna place the cookies about a couple inches apart. They'll spread out a little bit, but they're not going to get too wide. They'll just bake up. After that, we're ready for the oven. You want these to bake at 350 for about 10 minutes or until golden brown. Alright, the cookies are done and ready to come out of the oven. Now they are hot, and even though you want to grab one, don't. Now, you want to let these cookies cool for at least 15 minutes, maybe even 30. And what you're doing is you're letting the binder bind. That psyllium husk has to thicken up, and that's what will make the cookie very, very gooey on the inside. For example, I have some psyllium husk here that I just put into a little bowl, and I just added a little bit of water, and as you can see, it's thickened that water almost like a slime. And this is why it's very important to use psyllium husk when baking. Now that these cookies have set and cooled, go ahead and enjoy. Alright, let's talk about substitutions. If you don't have psyllium husk, you can use xanthium gum. If you're going to use xanthium gum, only use about 1/8 of a teaspoon. And that'll help bind the cookies as well. I find that psyllium husk works a lot better. It gives you more of a gooey kind of texture, but this will work just as well. One other note, if you use xanthium gum, is that the cookies will come out kind of like more like a Quest cookie, where you can taste that it's got the squirt in it, versus the psyllium husk kind of dulls down the sweetness. It kind of mixes everything a lot better, so it tastes like a real cookie. So let's say you don't have the xanthium gum or the psyllium husk, you can omit both. The cookies will still cook and still bind, but this helps add the chewy flavor that I personally look for in a cookie. They'll still be alright if you don't have either. It's okay, you can make them without, but it is highly recommended that you use one of them, and even more so that you use the psyllium husk. If you tried this recipe, let me know down below in the comments how it came out. If you want to stay up to date with future content, please subscribe to my channel. The next thing I'll be trying to do is a keto brownie. Getting kind of late. Gotta go. See ya.